Welcome to Backstage with Geoffrey Morrissey. I'm your host, Geoffrey Morrissey. I am joined by the band All Our Exes Live in Texas. It's my first time at the Club Passim. It's my first time with this group. How are y'all doing?
Great. It's our first time in Boston and meeting you, so it's a double whammy of joy.
Wow. I hope I represent our city well. That's that's quite the pressure. But could you just be able to introduce yourselves to our listeners?
I'm Georgia. I play the mandolin and sing.
I'm Alana. I have a slightly more nasal voice, and I play the accordion and sing.
I'm Katie, and I play the guitar, and I also sing.
I'm Hannah, and I play ukulele, and I also sing.
There we go. We have 4 singers, certainly something that we'll be talking about a little bit later. But Alana, I wanted to start with a quote that you had about playing live, where you were thinking ahead to the next album. You're like, you know what? I want to write some happier songs, so that way people have the experience of being happy at one of our shows or getting to hear the happy stuff, which I can't imagine anyone being sad at a live music show, let alone a show where the music is as beautiful as the stuff that's on your record, When We Fall. So how are y'all trying to make sure that the crowd is having a good time now, when sometimes the subject matter can get a little bit sad, but you want to make sure that everyone in the audience is still happy at the same time?
Well, we try and balance it out with some really silly banter. And yeah, I think the fact is people do like to hear heartbreak songs that they can relate to and, have a cry, but in a safe environment where, other people are maybe having the same sorts of, it's, the idea is that it's a cathartic experience, and then between songs we take the piss and we have a good time and then get back into the heartbreak.
You should explain that expression.
Take the piss just means make fun of ourselves and the audience, maybe. Just means it's funny.
Audiences usually deserve it. I like it. No, I'm going to steal that expression for sure. It's a good one. And when y'all introduced yourself, one of the things that stood out to me was everyone sings, but also the collection of instruments that y'all have in this band. Mandolin, ukulele, accordion, and guitar, which I love that collection. Was that something that you all came into this band sort of playing, or did you have to sort of learn something new so that way you didn't have, 3 guitars or something like that?
Well, actually, funny you should say, we were all playing the piano and doing solo projects. So it was really kind of a budgetary issue. We didn't think we could afford 4 grand pianos. And it would require big stages and potentially something revolving. So no, we thought we were just going to do one gig for a bit of fun for an Oh Brother We're Out There show, and so we thought, why not try new instruments that we'd been sort of dabbling with, but not much. So it was just a bit of a happy accident that they worked all together, and it feels like we've been learning how to play them as we go. But now 5 years on, we've kind of fallen in love with our instruments up and down, Still learning. Oh, yeah, definitely not mastering. But still learning, having a good time.
Well, there you go. See, I never would have guessed that. I would have thought that this was like something that y'all, the learning part is really cool. I have to ask, which Oh Brother song were y'all planning for that night?
Well, we sort of did. It was a show that kind of took the form of 2 sets, and it was us with a bunch of other Australian sort of folk bluegrass bands, and a friend of ours who's in a band called the Morrisons, he put on the night, and so it was us and a whole bunch of singer-songwriters, and we kind of played the role of the sirens who were all dressed in white, and so we did the Alison Krauss, Emily Lou, Gillian Welch songs for the whole night. So it was kind of like we probably did 5 songs or something that they did, and it was just one show, and then somehow we kept getting asked to play, which was lovely and a surprise.
Well, there you go. That's always nice, and I like that you brought up Emmy Lou and Alison Krauss are obviously amazing, but Gillian Welch too. I feel like everyone in the States at least forgets that Gillian Welch was a huge part of Oh Brother Where Art Thou. It's always attributed to Alison Krauss. So that's my thing. And I took a music class once, and the professor was like, "Oh, and Alison Krauss and Oh Brother Where Art Thou." I'm like, Gillian Welch was there too. She's pretty amazing. But yeah, no.
She's definitely one of our heroes.
We'll get back to this. When We Fall is the name of the record that y'all put forward. I love the name of the record, and I could tell sort of walking in that y'all also have a connection to each other. The 4 of you are quite close. So when y'all fall, because touring is tough, you're away from home, how do you all lift each other up as a band when you're on the road, when you're in the studio? How do you make sure that, you are all taking care of each other? Because touring and making music can be a grueling thing.
I guess it's kind of similar for if you had a partner. Like it really feels like we're married. So you know each other inside and out, and you know when someone's not feeling good, and you know when someone is feeling good. Like, I feel like, yeah, we spent so much time together that you 100% know all of the things. And so I think on tour, like for this tour, we are doing a show a night for 30 days or something. So there's a lot of self-care that has to come into it as well, of like swimming in the pool and exercising and trying to eat properly. And I don't know, yeah, this is probably the longest tour that we've done with consecutive shows in a row. Consecutive
shows in a row.
In a row. So it's like the first one that's been yeah, and heaps of driving, and only like at the moment there's only 2 in the car that are driving. So 2 people are doing like quite long hauls and then doing shows at nighttime. So yeah, I think it's being aware of each other, but it's also having self-care of what you need to do to look after yourself.
Is it a different side of the road here too?
Yes.
Oh boy, yeah. That's gonna take my brain quite a while to wrap my arms around that. But let's see, what else do I have here? So the other thing that I'm just so impressed with y'all. 4 different writers, yet the album is so thematically similar. Was that something that you really put a lot of thought into in terms of making sure, like, I have this song, it's probably not going to jive with the overall project. Like, how did y'all pick the songs? Because I know that you each brought 3 that you brought to.
Yeah, I think definitely when you're picking the song that you're going to bring to the group, you know that it will suit the group to some extent. I mean, we do present songs that are not necessarily Exes material, but I think what happens is when we all get together and arrange it, it certainly becomes the Exes sound. And also, I guess because we're spending so much time together and we're of a similar mind, certainly like politically and emotionally, so a lot of the themes that we are thinking about are the same. And yeah, it just felt like, especially when you're away a lot, relationships are difficult, and so a heartache or heartbreak album is maybe something that naturally happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my answer.
There you go. And I do want to stay on that theme of heartache for a minute. I had the chance to speak with Marlon Williams, who his voice just that is like he had like a cover of Heart Like a Wheel that I just watched it on his Facebook.
Did he?
Yeah, no, it's
God
like,
damn it, I've been wanting to cover that for ages.
you should. You guys do amazing covers. Definitely, yeah. It's on his Facebook page. Check it out. And he was telling me it's something about sort of Australia, New Zealand. He thinks that there's just a melodrama to the heartache, to the expressing this in everything is in such an expressive way. And then I thought back on that, and I thought about Lord's album, Melodrama. I thought about,
Bang on brand.
Right on brand. And I thought about a Julia Jacqueline and, some other similar Australian acts. And I'm like, wow, that might be a point there. And even Camp Cope, same thing with like the passion that I don't think I'm seeing, so at least in American music. So what do y'all think of that hypothesis? Do you think there is something about the culture that just leads to a more deeply emotive way of expressing than other places that you've seen?
That's interesting, because I would say that as a culture, generally speaking, we're quite emotionally crippled. We're kind of, we tend to be self-deprecating. We don't like to speak up about our feelings too much. We think of Americans as being really outspoken and kind of confident with expressing themselves. So maybe it works in the way that people feel they can use music and art to kind of channel that stuff. So where they don't, if they're sitting around the table at the pub, they're like, oh yeah, it might should be fun, yeah, don't worry about it. But then in a song, they're like, I'm dying. Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
So yeah, I think that in my writing, I feel like that. I feel like that's the avenue where I can be really emotional, and in normal life, I tend to be like having a laugh. So maybe that's kind of, yeah, we've got similar culture to New Zealand, so I think maybe that's my theory.
A good maybe. I like it. I'll take it. And then, so I also want to bring up something that we mentioned off mic a little bit earlier. The Kesha song, Praying. If these voices sound familiar, it's because they're backing Kesha in that song. So how did this all sort of come together? Because it's such a powerful track that really requires a lot of singers and of people. So, and you guys knocked it out of the park. So how did that all sort of come together?
Oh, thank you. Well, we had a friend who got in touch with Hannah and sort of said that Ryan Lewis was in Sydney, and they were looking for a choir to do some backing vocals for a song that he and Ben Abraham were writing and pitching to Kesha for her album. So we sort of, it wasn't necessarily the single that she would choose, but it was one of the contenders in our minds at that point. So we went in to the studio for a day, and I mean, it was a really amazing experience, and it's a very powerful song, and we felt very privileged to be, you know, even the very, very small part of that kind of musical expression, I think, from her. But we have, you know, it's an amazing song. We weren't sure it was going to be us even on the record. So when we got a message from Ben saying, hey, I think they kept your vocals, I mean, we assumed that they would just go back to America and in our minds do it with, you know, sort of more established backing vocalists from America rather than like a folk band from Sydney. But we're very lucky that they kept them in, and the song's amazing, and we were super proud to be part of it.
Yeah, and you know, to that point, they have brought it back to America, and there have been some other really famous people who have filled that backing part, whether it be at the Grammys or Dolly.
Yeah, Dolly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, how cool is that? You could say you did it before Dolly. Like, you know, that's a pretty amazing feat. I know, especially for y'all. Let me see. Sorry, phone went black.
We did go to Dollywood the other day.
You did?
Yeah.
Thoughts on Dollywood?
It's the best. But I'm never going on a roller coaster ever again.
There we go.
I thought that I liked roller coasters more than I did, and I don't like them that much. But Dollywood, terrific.
Dollywood is terrific.
Just
all right.
terrific.
Good. If anyone's near Tennessee, definitely go and visit that.
Yeah.
And then, so we were talking about this a little bit earlier with Heart Like a Wheel, that y'all do some amazing covers. You have great ideas for covers. Who would y'all like to see cover one of your songs, if you could? You know, someone gets to take either Candle or, you know, Child.
Do you know the band The Peep Tempel?
No,
Have you
I
heard
don't.
them? They're one of my favorite Australian bands, and they've just started taking a break because the lead singer is doing a solo career. But they're kind of like a punk band, but it's just the most Australian voice you could ever hear.
Okay.
And I would love to hear that band cover one of our songs. Yep.
Nice.
It'd be so Australian, and it'd be so rock and roll. I'd be so into it. Yeah.
So Australian and so rock and roll. I'll take it. Does anyone else have anyone else they'd like to see take a crack at one of the songs?
I just picked up the microphone because it was on the route to Georgia. But I think speaking about Dollywood,
No, you're good. Don't worry.
I think in terms of covers, we love Dolly Parton, and anyone of that ilk covering anything of ours would be amazing. I mean, like, we're always surprised when anybody knows our name. So, like, that's, you know, for someone to cover a song would be incredible.
There we go. Well, perfect. And then, so this is the question that I like to leave every interview with. I know that you all have a lot to do. Who are y'all listening to right now? Who's been spinning on these long hauls across the states?
My, I think, favourite band very much of last year and this year, I think continuing is Big Thief.
Oh my God.
Loving those guys. We love Margaret Glaspie very much. We always listen to some Rufus Wainwright and all the related family of the Wainwrights. And, well, we went to Graceland, so we've been spinning some Elvis.
Okay.
Gillian Welch.
Gillian Welch.
Who
else? Lizzo. And, yeah, just so many. We've had so many hours on the road. There's been a lot of. Katie made an amazing America playlist that had various bands like the Eagles and like Hotel California and places that we were visiting in the names of the songs. So that was really cool. But yeah, heaps.
I have to ask, was America by the Staves on there? That's my favorite song about, like, traveling America. Oh.
It's not on there.
It's not on there. All
But
right.
we'll put it on.
Tomorrow.
First thing tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, for all of our listeners listening, first thing tomorrow is we get ready to go to Newport Folk and discover some great new folk music. You need to go to Spotify, type in When We Fall. You will find an amazing album by the band that's joined me today. All our exes live in Texas. Thank you all so much for joining me, and have a great show.
Thanks, Geoffrey. Thanks.